Hey, this is Angela with this week's Living the Shift. So, how many times have you heard the term, why me? And usually it's typically used in context of, woe is me and why me and all kind of stuff. So now on this journey in living our shift into a higher consciousness, into a higher vibration, and to what I call Earth 2.0, what really is the question we're coming to realize is, why not me? And it's funny because we have gone through this entire existence, this whole existence of duality. And in that, the concept has been the illusion that there's a possibility of a me and a not me. And we split ourselves, we pretended to split ourselves in a whole bazillion different ways, and we've forgotten that we did that and all that kind of stuff, because that was just part of the game. And so part of that is the ego's development. And the ego, in this development of this concept of there being possibly a not me, has started saying, well, if it's, this wouldn't be me. This would be something that somebody else could do, right? We've created these hierarchies of what's right and wrong, what's better or worse, what's more important, less important, that there are more important people, that there are more special people than others. And so it's not that we're all losers. Because a lot of times, it's really funny because I hear all this verbiage, and it's like basically implying that, well, you're not special, nobody's special. Well, really, I take that on the other side, on the flip side, and say, actually, the point is that we're all special, that we are all the divine, and in that we're all limitless. And so we can actually do all of it. We can do everything we choose to do. It's a matter of releasing all of the limitations and beliefs that we have instilled in ourselves in believing that there's a me and a not me. And in embracing that, embracing the fact that the divinity, that the actual oneness of the universe is within us and not outside of us, that we can then accomplish anything we want. We can be whoever we want. We can do whatever we want. And we can do it with love, and we can do it with completion and wholeness, without any issues, without any worries, without any anxieties of, one of the biggest things that we fear, and it was funny, I saw a post on this on somebody on Facebook tonight is truly stepping into our full love, our full divinity, our full trust in that divinity within us, and saying, I'm okay with this and I don't care what anybody thinks. Because here's the thing, you might want to say, it's great because, so this was a perfect example. This woman I know, wonderful, beautiful, love-filled being, had written this post on Facebook on how she had been given these numbers to this, to the whatever, she'd been, given these numbers to the Powerball, whatever, it's like $1 bazillion, like 425 million, and that she was also told that she needed to share the numbers with others, and that it's all an example of the power of love and the power of trust and faith, and knowing that in the strength of our divinity, that we all deserve it, that we're all part of it. And it's funny because I'm watching this from the outside, and I'm like, this is amazing. This is amazing that she can do it, and more of us are being pushed to do that, because that's part of our journey, is coming back to this limitlessness, coming back to this realization without fear, because fear and resistance and all of that stuff come from the ego. So the key is this: in realizing that we are limitless, that we are the divine. The true question is, why not me? Why not you? You can sit here and do exactly what I'm doing. You can do what anyone's doing. You can become a star. You can do what your heart truly desires, because it's what makes your heart sing that you came here to do. Because ultimately it is a compilation, it is the sum and the synergy of the sum of everything that you have experienced throughout this existence, all the lessons you have processed, the totality of your individuality within this existence is what you have come to do to fulfill as your ultimate soul's purpose. And because of that, that's what will make your heart sing and make you be so blissful that you will just melt right back to the divine and realize your limitlessness in totality. And so you're probably looking, you might be looking at me going, what are you talking about? The key is it's time for us to stop disempowering ourselves by saying, and it's time for us to stop being lazy and disempowering ourselves in our laziness by saying, oh, well, so and so said this, so it must be right. And I'm talking about leaders, I'm talking about our politicians, I'm talking about our belief systems, I'm talking about anybody, I'm talking about me, anyone who's out here talking. The question is not, who are you to say this? Who are you to know this? Who are you to have this information? The key is to say, is this my truth? And to be able to remember how to tap into this beauty of the divinity within us individually and say, is this my truth? Because our truths, your truth and my truth in completion are different in some way, shape, or form, because we've had a very individual experience throughout this existence. That was part of the purpose. And so the beauty of us coming together, this culmination, is all these different flavors of ice cream, all of these bazillion different ways of us coming together. So what many don't understand is we all have consciousness at the higher realms. We have all these levels of consciousness simultaneous to where we are here. And we are angels, we are archangels, we are ascended masters. We are all of those beings in one way, shape, or form. We're in the elemental world. We have been, or we are. We've experienced all of it. So there is no reason for us to not be able to access the full level of our divinity. It's all part of the experience. It's all part of coming back home, so to speak, until we go into the next thing, that Earth 2.0 thing. And so part of the exercise is to say, why not me? To say, you know what? I don't care if 4 million people or 4 billion people follow this one person. It doesn't ring true to me. That's okay. That doesn't make you wrong. And what the lesson is not to follow along because others follow along. Not to disempower yourself by saying, well, so-and-so said this, so it must be true. The key is to learn to tap in and say, this is my truth or this is not my truth. And if you repeat something, then you can say, well, you know what? This rings true to me, and I don't know if it will ring true to you, but it felt really good to me. That's the difference, because now you're taking the empowerment of, this is how it feels to me, and not just passing on and saying, oh yeah, that sounded good. All right, yeah. And all these people follow this person, and I follow them too, so you should follow them too. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the church. I don't care if it's our leaders. I don't care if it's anyone. I don't care if it's somebody who has sold a billion books. I don't care if it's somebody who's been up in the Himalayas for 50 years chanting. It does not make what they say truth to you. It does not automatically say anything except they know what their truth is and they're speaking it. So for example, I understand that part of what I signed up to do, for part of what I volunteered to do during this period, is I volunteered to be a voice in the awakening. And that would mean that one of the many different flavors of ice cream, to remember certain truths, remember certain concepts, for us to start remembering and applying them to ourselves. My goal and my purpose is to help others remember that they can do everything within themselves, that the key is not to and what I always tell people is, I want you to get to a point where you don't need to depend on me to get the answers, or anybody else, that you can get the answers yourself and be confident in those answers and in the understandings that you get without having to read anything else. Now, here's the funny thing. So many people say to me now, so have you read this, and have you read this book, and have you read this person? Do you follow this person? Do you know what this person says, or have you heard this? And I'm like, you know what? No, because I read a lot. I took a lot of classes. When I first fell up in what I call when I call my Grand Awakening several years back, I truly was voracious for a while, and I got to a point where I trusted myself, and I trusted the information that I got, or that I remembered, what I call remembering, because we know it all, we just have forgotten it. So it's just really remembering what we've forgotten, right? So I trusted that I had the skill set at some point to be able to tap into information if it came across my desk, or if somebody brought it up to me, to be able to check in and say, okay, does this ring true to me? And in many cases, I get information myself. And what's really cool to me is when I get information myself and then I read it elsewhere, and it sort of validates that there's someone else who has a similar perspective. Now, here's the thing. If somebody else has a different perspective that comes across in a different way, does that make it wrong? No, it doesn't. It just doesn't make it my truth. And the reason being that we all have these experiences, and we've gone through this existence with these concepts of the ego and concepts of the individual. And in doing so, we have learned how to perceive differently from different points of view. It's sort of like I always say, if you put a cup of coffee in the middle of a table and you had 5 people around it, all 5 would describe it in a very different manner. Whether it's by a different kind of scent, whether it's by certain biases of, oh, well, it's really overly pungent, or, oh my gosh, it's so delicious, it makes my mouth water. See, and it doesn't make one person right and one person wrong. It just makes them different from their perspectives, from their experiences. So that's key to all of this. And this is key to everything that you read, everything, all the books that you read, all of the people you hear speaking, including myself, including, all the others who have millions and bazillions of people following them. It does not necessarily mean it has to be your truth. So if you're seeing something, if you're reading something, and or you're hearing something, before you react to it, before you have any reaction to it, the key is to tap in and say, is this my truth? Does this ring true for me? And how does it fit into my story? How does it fit into my path and on my journey? And how does it help me in the highest and best way? Because and then if it instills anything like resistance, any fear or anger, all that kind of stuff, then there's something to look at there and saying, okay, well, this obviously came up so that I can explore and release this. And then once you release it, then it doesn't serve you anymore. So there's a lot of different facets to that. But the first and foremost, most important part of this journey is to realize that the question really is, why not me? Because I truly am limitless. I truly am the divine, as are you. And so on that, I'm going to let you go. We'll talk to you next week. This is Angela with this week's Living the Shift.